Let's be real. Starting, running, and scaling a coaching business can feel exhausting. I mean, you've got the marketing, the hustling, the selling, all that stuff you didn't realize you would need to master when you decided to start a coaching business. For anything like me, you started your coaching business to change the world, to improve the lives of others while improving your own. Well, the truth is, running a business doesn't have to be as hard as many of us have made it out to seem. And you don't even have to do all that hustling stuff if you don't want to. You really can get into flow, into your zone of genius, and get back to the work you were sent here to do. But you have to ask for help. You have to be willing to work in new ways. You have to be willing to open up your mind to mentors who might be doing it differently than you've ever considered. And you have to be willing to actually implement new ways of thinking and running your business. If you're up for that, stay tuned. I'm Hanna Hermanson, your certified coach, international speaker, author, and yes, the founder of Dream Life is Real Life and the host of the show. And I've been able to help hundreds of coaches build, scale, and enjoy their online businesses. Essentially, make their dream life their real life. And if you'd like help improving your business life and get your coaching business to the next level, we might be able to help you. Head on over to dreamlifeisreallife.com/show to get all the resources and episodes that we talk about in this community. You can join our Facebook community, you can find me on Instagram, but more importantly, if you're really ready to integrate what you learn here today and on other episodes, then you'll be able to set up a complimentary 10-minute chat with my team. Again, at dreamlifeisreallife.com/show, no strings attached. We love getting to know you and seeing what are the right next moves for you. But now let's get on to the show. In this podcast, you'll find the real people, concrete tactics, and weekly motivation and inspiration to make your dream life and business real. I started this podcast to bring you the role models that I never had. We talk to successful entrepreneurs, freedom seekers, business owners, and people living life on their own terms. To be a true leader, to create the legacy you desire, and to live in alignment, you need a tribe lifting you up. And I've made it my mission to be your tribe, to bring them to your ears at least, because after all, we are all in this together. Now, let's cue the music. Well, this is so perfect, guys. I'm hanging out with my older and taller little brother, Gavin. Recently said I'm like a big sister, but he is a boss in his own right, and actually not related to me. So to tell you just a little bit about who we're hanging out with today, Gavin was a kinesiology graduate, and he followed all the rules, right, to do the right things, to become a personal trainer, got himself a good job, gained experience, and launched his own personal training business in 2012. But he quickly realized that following that traditional business model would lead to more trading time for money than he wanted to exchange. So he found a better way. And over the course of 4 years and tens of thousands of dollars invested, Gavin has been able to build a 6-figure hybrid training business before founding what he does now, Maverick Coaching Academy. And so in the past year, Gavin has left the gym completely and gone all into his online business, where he helps other personal trainers build their online and in-person, kind of hybrid models. And just over 12 months, he's earned over $125,000 and helped several of his students surpass that 6-figure mark as well. So he's on a mission to fix the broken fitness industry and helps to just help his students live their dream life as well. So lots to talk about here today, right?
Absolutely. I say best life, you say dream life, same old, same thing.
They can choose whichever one they want. I don't care. As long as they get one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So I love what you wrote, and we've talked a lot about this, as far as maintaining or choosing like the status quo or like doing all the right things. And I do want to touch on that a little bit before we get into the marketing and content side of things, because for you to put yourself out there and create this online presence and work with all these people, you had to shift a lot of those beliefs that you had, maybe the way you were brought up, or maybe the feedback you were getting from people in close proximity to you, which is true for me too. So if you wouldn't mind, I would love to hear a little bit about what that transition was like, as I know there are listeners thinking, oh, I just invested all this into my college degree or 10 years into this career and I want out. So that moment for you, any advice for that crux?
So much advice. I will say, I want to thank you because you're a big part of those results that we talked about, that you talked about earlier. Hanna helped a lot of those beliefs happen, or at least when I was slipping out of them, pulled me back from the fire. But yeah, to speak to the status quo, I grew up with a teacher and a policeman for parents, and I feel like that is more the rule than the exception for that generation. I'll meet people and they say, no, my parents are entrepreneurs or whatever it is, but it's not common. And what we heard so much of, so our generation growing up, I was born late 80s, our generation growing up heard their beliefs, which were instilled in them from their parents, which are, go and work for someone else and get a steady paycheck. Oftentimes doing something you don't really like so that you can earn the right to retire when you're older and then start to enjoy life, although you'll probably be bored because you don't really know yourself that well and you're not really sure exactly what you're supposed to do, but you know that you earned the right to not do anything.
Yeah. But it's the whole exchanging your time for money model that you went into. Even as a personal trainer, something you loved, it was still that mindset of like, I got to work hard. I got to grind this out. I got to be loyal, more time, more money.
The cog in the wheel, so to speak, right? Be a good cog in a big wheel and you'll be fine. And so, to bring it to personal training, I'll never forget, I had, again, this was maybe a couple of years ago, I had, for the first time, really started to see six figures in my sights. I was building this hybrid business, and this story tells the tale. My dad's a police officer, and the job for head trainer for the police came up. This guy had been there for 25 years. He was retiring. And my dad gave me the job application, clearly had no clue what I was doing in my business. He gave me the job application and he said, like, look at this pay and, the pension and the benefits and the holidays. And I looked at it, and this was like a moment where the first time that I had really specifically gone against my dad's advice to his face. And I was like, Dad, I'm making more money than this already, and I don't work for anybody. And he was like, what? Like, he didn't understand, but and then of course, as the conversation moves on, but you don't have the benefits and the pension. You don't have any of that. And I'm like, yes, but I don't work for anybody.
Values.
I work for myself. And so following what happened, to take you back again, following the status quo, I built a pretty good business, and my life was okay. But the problem is in the back of my brain, I felt that pull, like, this isn't going to work long term. Like, if you want to get married, if you want to have kids, if you want to travel, you are literally, you may as well go be a police officer and get the steady paycheck, or go be a teacher. Nothing against them, but that's not what I wanted. I wanted freedom. So I had literally, doing something I loved, quote unquote, created a job for myself.
Yeah, this is so common. And we talk about this in lots of podcast episodes where we have that dream job or thing, and then we go achieve it and we're there and we're like, oh, wait, there's something next and there's something better. And I think that's just one of the like strains of our personalities as entrepreneurs. Sometimes people are like, why can't I just be content? Like I got to fix my like morning routine, or I need to like lose 10 pounds because then I think I'll feel better. But I want to give people listening permission to evolve. I think entrepreneurship is the biggest course in personal development, and good on you when you hit 6 figures and that was the dream. Okay, like set a new dream. Like it's okay to keep dreaming and evolving. It's not like I guess I should just be okay here. If you're anything like us, it's always going to be that next step that you want to take, and you should, in my opinion.
I'd love to add to that too, that somewhat recent events in our world and I've had this conversation so I work with a couple of gym owners, and we had one guy who like his plan was to be the next big franchise. He had like 200, 300 members in his gym. He was so excited. COVID hit. We've been working with him to build his online program. He shifted all of his people over to online, and now he's like, I might let my lease run out. And honestly, we had to give him the permission, just like you said, to shift his vision and to say, it's okay that your vision is not to be this franchise. Your vision is still to help people, just in a different way.
Yeah.
And I just think coronavirus and this whole thing has just expedited so many things and really allowed people to see, like you said, that you don't have to have tunnel vision. As long as that like purpose is there, it can happen a number of ways.
Right. Right. And this was true for you too. So, 2020, although it's been challenging in a lot of ways, has been your best year and months in business. And I know it's because of your willingness to adapt and pivot and start working in different ways, which I know a lot of personal trainers and health coaches and people who had either online offerings or offerings they weren't really pushing are in the same boat as you. So let's go to the marketing side of things and talk about some of the shifts you had to make, again, maybe a few months back from where you are now, but that transition from personal training, charging hourly, exchanging time for money to be able to set yourself up for, beyond 6 figures. You just took a month off to have a honeymoon in your business and it changed it all. Let's go to some of those like fundamental shifts you had to make from exchanging time for money to this freedom-based business.
Yeah. So I'll talk to you first about my fitness business, which again, my fitness business is now closed, but I was able to get it to a place where it was a hybrid business. And now we're able to help our clients with that. And one of the big things, I literally, this is why I shifted to business coaching. I had people say to me like, how are you doing this, man? Like you're making good money. You're always busy, with clients in the gym, which is something that personal trainers want to be busy with clients in the gym. And, I was able to travel at times and whatnot and not be, losing all my income and losing all my clients. And the big thing was that I was selling and I was marketing the whole package. So many times as a personal trainer or a health coach who works in person, we get stuck selling session to session. Hey, buy a 10 session pack or buy a 20 session pack. But when you sell session to session, it's actually a benefit financially to your client to not show up for sessions. So if they buy a 10 pack and they come once a week, that's 10 weeks. But if they were to miss 2 of those sessions for whatever reason, they actually get to extend their 10 pack to 12 weeks. Mm-hmm. So they're actually, and this is a subconscious thing. I'm not saying your clients are trying to screw you over, right? But your clients are like, it's actually a benefit to me to miss sessions if the conditions aren't perfect. So it's a lose for you because you're losing money and you can't have a stable income. And it's a lose for them because they're not getting their sessions that, yes. This is why they're signing up with you.
Yes.
So huge. Go ahead.
No, that's huge. I really just want to sit in that because we know, well, I know. What I want to say is that setting yourself up for packages or hourly sessions means that you are a commodity that is disposable, like you just said. And I think that I had never really thought of it that way, but I've subconsciously done that to my trainer of like, oh, I want to
100%.
like, I don't want to do it Thanksgiving week. I want to come after Thanksgiving. So let me just like bail this week and go next. I've done that without even realizing, because I think of it as a transaction, as a commodity that's there when I need it, but not really like a big commitment. Right.
Yeah.
So I just needed to like underscore that's huge.
Let's sit in that. Yeah.
Yeah.
We just had a client come into our business, and this guy's an incredible trainer by all accounts. He's been doing it for 15 years. He's got all these incredible certifications, but he was still charging session to session. So I had this exact conversation with him, and I said, when we shift people to monthly, now let's say they're going away for a long weekend and their session was on a Monday. If they're paying monthly, you can bet your ass that they're going to reschedule that and make sure that they still get in that week so that they get their one session a week or their 2 sessions a week that they've already paid for. Not to mention the fact that if you're selling a holistic program that as a trainer should, in my opinion, include physical training, some form of low-level activity on the days that they're not training heavy, some form of nutritional guidance, and some form of mindset work, then even if they do end up missing a session, they don't feel like they've missed out on what they've paid for. Right. They're still getting all these other things. And you can say, hey, why don't you just, you couldn't make it today and we couldn't reschedule. Why don't you just add this in that's already in your program? And, there's so many different ways that you can do it to create that win for you where you have a stable income, and a win for them where there's expectations of them now. This is a program, not just a session by session thing.
Yes. And personal trainers, health coaches, I love you. I always have one in my,
I'm
always working with it. Okay. But you aren't helping me, like those 45 minutes in the gym is not what's transforming me. It's the 23 hours that I'm spending outside of the gym that's helping me get the results that you're focusing on. Right. Mm-hmm. And so this is the other piece, that when you set yourself up to exchange time for money, this commodity, this transaction, then clients just expect, well, like, Gavin, I came 3 times this week. Like, I'm gaining weight. Like, it's not working for me as a client either. They're not going to get the results if they just think that like punch in, punch out, go to the gym, get 6-pack. Right. Yeah. So, both trainers and clients need to have this shift that it isn't about punching in and out. It's about a transformation, not a transaction.
Oh, I love that. You're so good with using those words, transformation over transaction. And really that's what, they've had enough transactions in their life, and they continue to have more.
All the smoothies, all the shakes, all the fad diets, like we've done it, right?
We've been there,
yes.
The Bowflex, let's,
I love it.
Let's be, and this is, again, if we want to talk marketing, how many other trainers are selling the same thing? If you show up different, you show up uniquely and say, we do things different here. And we're actually you're going to commit to 3 months. And this is why, again, another thing that Hanna talks a lot about, that we talk a lot about too, is we're going to communicate our value, right? This is why you're going to sign up for 3 months. And this is why you're not going to pay session by session. And this is why you're going to commit to this, because yes, I know there's expectations on me as your trainer, but there's expectations on you too as the client. And that is going to allow you to sell them actually solving their problem instead of, just like Joe Schmo down the street at LA Fitness or whatever, who's going to count your reps and get his timer going. Yeah, I'll sell you this 10-pack. You're not differentiating yourself, even though you're better than that other coach. You have to show them you're better.
Yeah, you got to sell the transformation, not the I'm going to sit here and count reps for you. And something you said about like, you could just, keep doing what you're doing and try to be better or try to be different in your marketing. But the truth is there are more online coaches today than there was yesterday and the day before. And like 2020, it's a great opportunity for personal trainers. But Gavin and I have just mentioned like a dozen people we know who have suddenly gone online and are trying to piece together this hybrid thing. Like you have got to stand apart from these other people who are doing holiday special, $100 off thing, and putting you in this like boot camp type of thing. Like the people who can show that they have a transformation, a life-saving opportunity, not bicep curls, but a life-saving opportunity are the coaches who are going to, earn more money, get better results, and be here beyond 2020. Would you agree?
I would also add to that, they're the ones that are going to save people's lives.
Yes.
And I don't know about, I do know about you. I don't know about the people listening here, but I know that Hanna and I are in this for impact. We do this, I do what I do now because I saw something that was broken. And I know a lot of I talk to a ton of personal trainers every single week. And the number one thing is they all have a story that started them in personal training and they want to impact lives. And you will never impact someone's life in a substantial way long term by selling the same as what everyone else is selling. And whenever I see someone offering those $100 off packs, or it starts at just $20 per session, I'm like, you need help, because that's not going to last. And to me, that reeks of absolute desperation
and disservice, right? Hey, come pay 100%. Me $20. I'll keep you entertained for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
But your body probably won't change because you don't have all these other supports that we know. I mean, personal trainers think like if you could just have your clients think differently about their body, think differently about food, like take those extra walks throughout the day, like that they're going to actually have that body transformation, right? Or hit their goals that they have. Oh man, I'm getting like warmed up. Like this is just so good. And I can feel your passion through this too. And again, it's we love you, personal trainers. Like we know you've got the story, but you are shooting yourself in the foot every time you charge by the minute, right? Mm-hmm. So let's dig into this a little bit, Gavin, because I think they're with us. I think they want to charge premium prices, quit shooting themselves in the foot, get people to show up, commit to their programs. So what were some of the tactical shifts that, you had to make or we worked on to make sure that you are communicating that value, that transformation, like you started talking about?
Oh man, and I assume you're talking about like with content and with front-facing marketing. Okay. So, I mean, the first thing that really shifted for me was the difference between me saying something that I wanted to say and me saying something that they wanted to hear. And what I mean by that is actually entering this conversation where they are and touching on pain points or even just thoughts that they are having. And I actually said this to our other coach. We have a coach on staff. She's a copywriter by trade. And I said, it's really interesting, this shift that I've had. I can say the exact same thing, but I just position it differently and it completely hits different. So, yep. I could say I could say something that I want to say, and people are just going to brush it off. But if I start or lead with like a pain point or something that I know that they're feeling, and then I say the exact same message, tons of people are going to resonate with that. And they're going to be like, oh, this guy's like right in my head. We want your ideal client or your prospect or your audience to be a little concerned as to how well you know them and their problems. Mm-hmm. Like, mm-hmm. Did this guy like literally hear me talking about this in my head earlier? Like, that's how well we need to know them so that we can actually speak to them. Because if you don't know their problems, if you don't know exactly what it is that they need, how can you communicate to them? There's no way.
And I want to dig into that, how you get inside their brains. And Before that, though, I want to offer one hack, one tip for people listening. Whether you change your program or not, like this is going to help you get more engagement and conversion today. Look at your website, look at your posts, wherever you're posting. And every time there's an I or a me, switch it to a you. Okay. So I see this all the time on social media. Like, I did this, me and my dog, we think this, we had donuts. And then what I ask myself every time before I post is, why does it matter to her? The ideal client I have in my head, why does it matter to her? And even if I just go in and I can do something like super simple, like, how I launched my website, how you launch your website. Oh, cool. Like, they don't care what I'm doing, right? Yeah. So I just encourage you, seriously, go on your website, copy today, or even look at your content calendar for the week and switch all the I's to U's. You'll have to, do the grammar piece of that. But that's an instant hack for what Gavin was talking about.
Hate to say it. People are selfish and they want you to talk to them. They don't want you to talk about yourself. So
this gets to what you were saying around that, like, oh my gosh, how does he know that much about me? It's not when you say people in the world, everyone, we, like, that's not, I don't connect with that. But when you say you and you can call out specifics about me, that's when I'm hooked, right?
Yeah. And I also want to touch on one other thing that you mentioned, and, maybe your audience knows this already, so I hope I'm not being redundant, but you mentioned like she, as in like your ideal client, and her like a person, like a friend. My ideal client is a he. I work with men and women. My ideal client, but I can literally picture him in my head. I know exactly what is going on in his brain. I know where he's at in his life. I know what his concerns are, what his dreams are, and Hanna knows hers as well. And all of this is completely moot if you don't have that. Yeah. So that's the first thing. Like, you really need to know it first, like, and spend a ridiculous and annoying amount of time figuring it out. And then you can start to have these conversations, because you will know where they're at.
Yeah. And it's always evolving, right? Like with any relationship, you learn more about them and you learn you face new problems together. But Gavin, how did you get in that guy's head? How did you get to know this person so well?
So the first hack is that a lot of the times your ideal client is you before you came woke, so to speak, before you awakened to what you know.
Yeah.
So when I was in my training business, it was the Gavin McHale who had just left competitive sports and was struggling to find his identity, and was working out, but didn't really know what he was doing. So he was kind of beating the hell out of himself. Now it's the Gavin McHale who was like, man, I'm a good trainer. Why are people not knocking on my door and giving me their credit card? And, I've taken that Gavin from 2014 and a couple of our clients, and I've molded them all together, but I can see that person. And I know exactly what's in their head.
Gavin offspring.
Yeah. It's like me and a couple of my clients, molded together in one really good trainer who has almost no money.
Yeah. Yeah. I had, like I said, you need to do the deep dive for sure, but I have all of my clients keep a running list of a dream life and a real life spoken word. Okay. So when I first started, there were some of my own like journals or struggles that I could pull from and literally think, Hanna was up at night thinking about how to make rent. And it was $1,500 in San Francisco and it was a shitty place, whatever. I have some of that. But like you said, you have to build upon it. And there's going to be people that you interact with as clients. Yes. But even before that, I did a lot of deep diving, dumpster diving, maybe, in Facebook groups. What questions are people asking about starting an online business? Reddit, there's a rabbit hole there, but there are people starting real, posing questions about doing the things that you know about. Instagram, obviously, taking a look at competitors, but going out and doing actual market research with the lens of a researcher, not someone who's there to judge or compare or fix, but just understand the landscape of where people, are asking these questions and how they're phrasing it. And then you plug it into this, the dream life side of the goals they have, the aspirations, where they want to travel with their 2.5 kids, right? And then the real life side, what's keeping them up at night, how much their rent costs, how many clients they don't have, kind of thing. So that's ground level. But then, Gavin, what you're talking about is through experience, this will continue to evolve, right? Like it might become a later version of yourself. But your sales calls and like sales process, this is where I'm finding the most rich market research, because people literally call you up and say, hey, Gavin, I might let my rent run out because of COVID. Real life, might let rent run out, like literally save all that stuff, right?
I have these thick, like coiled things. I can't get up right now, but I'm looking at this one and two more filled with my notes from sales calls. I've also recorded all my sales calls. And when you go back and you do kind of like review the things because I always have a highlighter with me. Thanks, Hanna. And you review the things that people said and the leverage points that I pulled on like really what they were struggling with.
Yep.
There's so many threads that run throughout those. And like I did the math actually recently. I've been on over 70 sales calls now in 2020. So I have an N of 70 in terms of my market research of so many people who are at a pretty similar place, who are very, like a few of them, aren't exactly my ideal client, but I'm really getting a sense of exactly what they feel they need.
Yep. So now Gavin goes to his notebook, highlighted section. He pulls out a problem and he posts, you have this problem. Like that's how people know you're an expert. Like Gavin said, when you can talk about their problems, like before they even knew you, like how does he already know that about me? Right. Yeah. It's because he's speaking directly to them and their problems or their goals, right? Either side. Awesome.
Yeah. That's another thing is like, I always want to know. And even when I'm talking to someone and they say like, yeah, no, things are good right now. It's like, okay, well, what's next for you? And there's probably 3 to 5 answers that every single person has answered. And this is like DMs and sales calls. So I'm talking like hundreds and hundreds of, my ideal client telling me where they want to go. And then I can say, this is probably what you want, right? And this is probably what's happening, right? And they're like,
and this is exactly what we do. You sell them what they want, right? Like, I know you want more clients. Maybe they think it's in person, right? Yep. But you can then position your offer and, your solution to exactly what they just told you they need. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to switch gears a little bit because I recently saw one of your posts on, I think, LinkedIn that I think is so important. I want to touch on. And it's around this idea that a lot of health coaches have that they need to just keep growing their following. They need to just have more followers because more followers will eventually equal more sales. What's your take on that idea?
Well, first of all, I grew my business. I mean, pretty intimately, I grew my business to 5 figures a month with a couple thousand Instagram followers and like 1,500 connections on LinkedIn. And those are my 2 main platforms for getting clients. And I had my first 2 clients who hit 10K months. So we have our 10K club. They both used, so one of them used Facebook and one of them used Instagram, and they had a combined less than 2,000 connections on those 2. So my take, I think, as you guys can probably understand, my take is that is a vanity metric I'm not saying that it's not important to have more ideal clients eyeballs on you, but the first thing that you need to understand is you need to be able to communicate your value effectively. So if you try and get all these new followers, if you buy followers, or if you whatever you end up doing, but you're not actually sharing a message that they want to hear or care about, it's going to fall on deaf ears. So really, what's the point? What you need to do is take the people that are already following you, that are already there, that may know you in some capacity, or a friend, of a cousin, of a whatever, and make sure that they know what you do. From there, you need to start getting into conversations. And even if they're not your ideal client, saying, do you know anyone? This is exactly what I do. Do you know anyone? And I mean, in the fitness world, who doesn't know someone who's interested in improving their fitness in whatever way you do it, whether it's like reducing injury risk or getting more muscle or losing weight? Like,
Right.
everyone knows someone who needs that.
Right.
So if you just get into conversations and are clear about what you do and how you can help these people, then you start getting people talking. And then that's literally what organic growth is. So to answer your question in a very long roundabout way, I know the answer is not more followers.
Right.
The answer is in how you can communicate your value to the people who are watching.
Right. I mean, it's like if I gave you 100,000 Instagram eyeballs and you had no idea what to do with them, or I gave you 100 Instagram followers that were raving fans and ready to buy your offer, which would you like?
Yeah.
And it's you said the vanity metric thing, it's this interesting human tendency, right? We just think more is better. And like, you have to have that number to prove something. But so many people with a lot of, we know this, so many people with huge followings are broke. Okay. It's the people who can leverage their networks and their quality of their relationships to offer a solution, a transformation, like we keep talking about, that are the ones that actually, make a living on the internet and stick around, like we're talking about. This is not going anywhere. This is not brand new news, but you got to start working the principles if you want to rise above this pack of online coaches.
Yeah. And I'll share one more thing around a vanity metric. I hear so many personal trainers, and probably you hear this too, Hanna, that they want, I need more clients. And I often take a step back and say, and this is where like an interesting piece of marketing comes in around making them aware of their problem, or making them aware that the thing that they think is the solution is wrong. Do you need more clients, or is that just going to make you even busier and even more exhausted, spending even more time on the gym floor? Or what if we could actually like get your clients, your current clients who already know and love you, who you're already helping, to invest what your service is actually worth? And like the simplest way to grow your business without any sales is to increase your prices, or to, like we've talked about, shift the way that you're charging people to make it a win-win.
Yeah.
Right. So It's not always more. It's not always more followers. Yeah. It's not always more eyeballs. It's not always more clients. There are other ways that you can do the same thing, that you can get the result that you want without having to like just kill yourself with work, right?
Right. Or just ripping off what you see everyone else doing. And like, if I just do more of this content, if I just do more of these lives, it will work. But if you're doing it wrong, right? Like if you're copying the wrong person, or you're not speaking to your ideal client, if you're not talking about their problems, then you're just going to be live for no reason all the time.
I've been there. It doesn't work.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the marketing fallacies that I need to educate people on. It's that like consistency is not the secret sauce, because you can be consistently bad. And a lot of us are, right? So it's dialing in these things that Gavin and I have talked about today, right? So having a priceless transformation for people, and not exchanging your time for money. Number one, like getting out of transaction and into transformation. And then number two, you got to be able to talk about that, how you get people out of their pain and into their dreams. So the market research and getting in their mind and having that ideal client that you're always talking to in you form, not saying I, but saying you, which we talked about. And then I think the last piece that we're kind of starting to get to is experimentation, right? So putting things out there, seeing what works, and always being committed to improving and taking the feedback that you get, even if you have a small following, right?
There is nothing more scary than taking an action that you're not sure about. But there's also nothing more telling. I'll share, our VIP clients right now for the month of November, we're doing a lead generation competition, which essentially means how many high quality conversations can you get into? We're not judging their sales. We're not judging how many conversations they're opening. We're actually judging the quality. And we have a metric for how high quality the conversation is. And so many of them are fighting it because it's scary. And they know they're probably going to fail. And Hanna, you know as well as anybody that I fought a lot of this stuff because I was scared and I thought I was going to fail. The only way to know about, let's say, more about your sales process and what your clients need is to get on calls and ask them. The only way to know what they need to even get on a call is to get in conversations like DM conversations, email conversations, text conversations, and ask them. You're probably going to get a few people who tell you to go kick rocks, and that's okay, as long as you stay in your integrity and you're doing it for the right reasons. But you have to take this action, because if you don't take this action, you're never going to know. So I said to them, DM conversations are a double-edged sword. Yes, you're trying to get them on a sales call and sell them. You're also doing market research. You're also learning what their problems are and what they want in their words, like Hanna said. But it takes action. You have to experiment.
And sometimes a good coach kicking you in the butt and making sure that you're, following through. Isn't that right?
Sometimes that's helpful. Yes.
I'm leading you. All right. Well, Gav, this has been a delight. I think that, both health coaches and just really anyone who right now is exchanging their time for money can take all of these principles and start putting them to practice immediately. So thank you so much for sharing all of that value and, sharing your personal stories too, because it isn't all glamorous and just, credit cards lining up at your door and swiping all day to do these things. So thanks for letting us behind the scenes. And I would love for you to let folks know where they could continue this conversation with you and learn more about you and Maverick Coaching.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. You and I both know that I've been wanting to get on this podcast for a while, so I'm pretty excited.
You work for it. Look at you.
I had to earn it. I think my contact info is a good lesson as well. I don't really have a website right now. So all of you guys who think that the most important thing is building out your website to build your business, I don't have a website, and Hanna told you how much I've made in the last 12 months. So just take that into account. The best two places to find me are on LinkedIn, Gavin McHale. Connect with me. I love to connect with health coaches, personal trainers, and on Instagram at Gavin McHale 1. Again, follow me. I'll probably follow you back. You might hear from me.
Yeah, we'll make sure we have links to your best places to connect, LinkedIn and Instagram, in the show notes. And thanks so much, Gavin. Always a pleasure. Our chats are. And friends, the rest of you who are just tuning in today, be sure to tune in again next week, because I'll be back with another inspiring guest that will help you make your dream life and business your real life. That's right, friends. That'll do it for our show today. But remember, if you're really ready to implement and take these ideas into action, then hop on over to dreamlifeisreallife.com/show, and you can access all of the resources we talked about, and more importantly, set up a complimentary 10-minute phone call with my team so that we can help you get clarity and some concrete action steps in place, so this doesn't just become another one of those feel-good moments, but an opportunity to actually make a change in your life and business, because all good things come in action. So we'll see you over there at dreamlifeisraelite.com/show and next week here on the show.